Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside the Pirates podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the Well Point Studios here in downtown Lowell. Well Point, your whole health is their whole point. And we thank our friends at Well Point for helping to make this podcast and all of our Inside Lowell podcasts possible, along with the rest of our podcast partners, starting with our friends at the Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, from affordable to luxurious, apartments for all. Boston North Company, business solutions for restaurant and retail. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell since 1925. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for over 41 years. And last but certainly not least, our friends at the Massachusetts Pirates. And with that in mind, let me bring in our special guest for this Inside the Pirates podcast. He is the kicker, the new kicker of the Massachusetts Pirates, and he's coming to us on the Zoom line, Henry Nell. How are you, Henry? Good to have you joining us, my friend. Sorry about that, Henry. I hit the wrong button and I lost your audio.
It's all good.
I got you back. Let me try that again. Take two from the media professional. Welcome, Henry. Good to have you here. How you doing today?
Not too bad. Doing the best we can. Thank you, Teddy. It's a nice little add-on to the week. I'm excited to join you guys today.
Yeah, you're just happy that I got you out of the weight room because your teammates are all in there still lifting, and you're a kicker. What the hell is a kicker doing lifting?
Hey, we lift the most of all the positions, like we got to be the biggest guys on the team. It's all about how big that heart is.
There you go. Yeah, actually, for a kicker, you're relatively good size, right? You're 5'11", 200 pounds. I know you're bigger than the guys who've kicked previously.
Yeah, got to correct you on that one. It's a 220 pounds. Got to add that extra 20.
All that good cooking here in Lowell, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my wife definitely makes some of the best meals. And I always say this is her dream body. This is what she wants me to look like because she feeds me.
Absolutely love it. So you joined the team a couple of weeks ago. I have to ask, how the heck does a kid who grew up in South Africa and was playing rugby end up kicking in an indoor football league in a city like Lowell, Massachusetts? That's a crazy journey.
Wow. It is. If I do take some time and reflect back on where we started all the way to where we are today. And, it blows my mind every time. I always get chills because for somebody like me that I grew up, in South Africa, I never had the desire to leave the country. I always had the dream to make it big playing rugby. And it's a game that I've played since I was 5 years old. So, fast forward, I've been playing rugby 15 years before I made the decision to transition to football. And I want to say that was probably one of my hardest decisions that I've ever had to make, is leaving a game that I absolutely love since I was a kid to go and pursue a career in football, which is a game that I've never even watched before. I had zero knowledge going into the football world. Even in my first game, when I came to the U.S. in 2018, at the age of 19, I went straight from high school. I played 1 year professional rugby, and then I jumped on a plane to pursue this football dream. And in 2018, I came over, and it was really hard to get an opportunity with the lack of experience that I had at the time. I had no high school film, I had no college film, I had no stats to show what I could do. The only thing that I had was me kicking a rubber football in the backyard. And, kicked it pretty far. So that was the only thing that really pulled attention to some coaches. But I went to some open tryouts with a lot of arena teams because I knew the NFL at the time was a really long shot. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to sign a 19-year-old that has no experience, that can barely speak English, because English is also my second language. So I knew it was a long shot to go that big, that quick. So the Arena League sounded pretty, my next best step that was available at the time. And I ended up going to an open tryout with the Jacksonville Sharks, which is one of our opponents in the Indoor Football League. And they put me on the practice roster because they were like, we see some potential, but you're still inexperienced. So see how much you can learn from the people that we have around you. And it so happened to be that the season kicked off, and 2 games in, there was a team in Maine that was right above us right now. They lost their kicker due to an injury. And when they saw I was available for the grabbings, they signed me. And I guess they signed me for the reason thinking that, oh, you're a professional kicker that's still young, like you probably know the game. So it so happened that I jumped into my first professional football game that same week that I got signed. And Teddy, I got to be honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing. I was thrown in the deep end. I made a kickoff, and I ran down, and somebody blindsided me so hard that I thought that was the end of my career. My first kickoff was the end of my career. And I remember staying on the field, and I didn't know where to go, whether I should go off the field, remain on the field. Like, I had no idea. So my head coach at the time, Coach James Fuller, he walked over and he's like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Coach," I looked him dead in the eye. I was like, "Coach, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know where to go." And he had this, I will never forget his face, this kind of like a confused look to be like, "Son, you're playing professional football. How do you not know what you're doing?" And it was a very precious moment, because after that game, I realized I had some homework to do, some catching up, because everybody was miles ahead of me with knowledge. And I sat down with my roommate, and he was a center at the time. And I told him, like, "Please teach me everything you know about football and start from the basics." And our first conversation went, there's 3 aspects of the game. There's offense, defense, and special teams. And the rest is history.
Craig, that's a fascinating journey there. And just having seen you, I was at the last home game with my son, and I think that was the first time you kicked here in Lowell at the Songa Center. And I mean,
yeah.
You've got all angles of kicking covered, right down to the point where you actually pulled off a drop kick that I wasn't even paying attention, and it took me a second, like, did he just do what I think he just did? Obviously,
yes,
your training in rugby, though, that kind of honed your skill on the drop kick. Is this something that you're making a regular occurrence at games?
Oh, absolutely. The drop kick, obviously, since it scores more points in the regular extra points, it's a weapon that we could use at any given time. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, it's a little unpredictable with the bounce, because the football is not like a rugby ball where it's round on the end. It's pointy. So if you drop it ever so slightly off the line that you're supposed to, it's going to bounce away from you. And that's when you start missing kicks. So it's a very niche skill to have in the bag. And it's something I take a lot of pride in, because that was the first kick that I've ever done in my life. When I was 5 years old, the first thing my dad taught me about kicking was, this is a drop kick. You bounce it and you swing your leg and you make contact. So it's something I do absolutely take, like I said, a lot of pride in and try to perfect every time. And sometimes, you get lucky and you go 100% on them. But even if you don't, you only have to go 50% on drop kicks to still be equivalent to 100% on extra points.
Yeah, so it's doing the math, playing the percentages. The other thing that I think I saw you do at the Songas was try to do the kickoff through the goalpost, which also gets you points, right? Except there's this giant scoreboard smack dab in the middle of the Songa Center, and most indoor arenas, as I understand. So that takes some skill. Is that something you can even practice?
Currently, given our situation, no, it's not, because we are limited to practicing indoors in the facility, because there's a lot of other teams taking advantage of the arena itself. So for me right now, I just rely on all the years of experience that I've had. I've played this game for roughly around 6 years now, and arena has definitely the most experience that I've played in. I've played more indoors than outdoors. So for me, it's falling back on muscle memory and then just relying on my technique and doing what I'm supposed to do. Given the situation with the arenas, every arena is different. Sometimes you can line up in the middle. Sometimes you have to kick around the scoreboard, where you got to line up a little bit closer to the sideline. But at the end of the day, it's all about just kicking the ball straight. That's as easy as that. But that's also, the longer you play this game, you kind of develop a new set of skills as well when it comes to kickoff, because you got to get creative. Sometimes the arena just absolutely does not allow you to kick it high. So then you have to do this one kick we call a squib kick. and it's trying to make the ball bounce as as weird as it can, so that the return guy doesn't have an easy return. But that's something you just learn over the years. Wherever you go, the good kickers, they can manipulate the ball to their favor.
Yeah, it's interesting because oftentimes the kicking game is an afterthought, especially in today's NFL. Everybody kicks it out of the end zone, and there's talk about eliminating. Yet in the indoor game, in the arena game, there's a strategy to it, as you just kind of pointed out, and the different options you have for scoring points and putting points on the board. If you get to I believe your last road game, you had two of those 2-point kickoffs, or two of those kickoffs that went directly through the goalpost. Do I remember that correctly?
Yes, our last home away game that we just played was against San Antonio, and I had 4 that went through the uprights, and only 3 of them counted. We had an incident of a little offside, which was very questionable at the time, but on the stat line, there was 3 deuces that counted.
Okay.
And then I had 2 drop kicks in that game as well. Okay.
So that's a weapon that you are definitely exploiting. I can see why the Pirates went out and grabbed you in the middle of the year. What's your accuracy on those? If you have a stadium that allows you to do it with nothing hanging low to block those kicks, how many of those kicks can you hit, given that there's nobody rushing at you and trying to block you?
If I give you my honest opinion of what I feel I'm capable of, I feel like I can hit it every single time. But if we talk realistically, I want to say a good anywhere between, I want to say 7 out of 10 times I should be able to get really close, if not through. Because it's still a 60-yard kick through a 9-foot window of uprights.
Right. The distance, that's a long kick. So how does coach feel about you doing it? Does he allow you the freedom to make the decision on your own when to do it, or does he tell you when to do it?
Yeah, that's the one thing we have really good going on right now is I feel like bringing a little bit of experience into this team as well. The coaches do have a little bit more trust in you and your decision making. So I do appreciate them coming to me and be like, how are you feeling right now? Do you feel like you want to attempt a deuce? Do we want to just play the territory game? And then we have a quick conversation beforehand. The same with the drop kick. If I feel like this is a drop kick that can put us, in a 2-point scoring kind of advantage, then why not explore the situation? So I do appreciate them like opening up and talking to me beforehand. And it's definitely something I think the more deuces you kick, the more trust you also put in, the coaches trust you a little bit more. So when we first opened up against San Antonio with a deuce, I told my coach, I feel great. Let me keep hitting them until it doesn't feel good anymore. And then we'll make a change. But as long as it's working, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
I love it. Love that attitude. We're chatting with Henry Nell, the kicker for the Massachusetts Pirates. He's joining us here on the InsideLowell Zoom line. One more game to go in the regular season. You guys know you're going to be in the playoffs. And I think you've actually clinched even the 3rd seed. So there's no chance to get to 2nd. There's no chance to drop to 4th. You know your destiny. Yes. How are you guys approaching this game? Is it kind of a game to try to maybe work on some things, or are you going all out? Is this a must-win in your guys' approach?
Obviously, it's a good momentum game that we can take with us into the playoffs. If we, like you just said, win or lose, it doesn't really matter at this point because we are in the playoffs, and that's the game that matters. The game that decides whether we stay for another week or we go home. So this game, I can promise you this, we ain't having the mindset to lose. We're going to throw everything we have at them, and we will explore some new tricks we have up our sleeve to see if it works. If it doesn't, then we know what we need to take with us to the playoffs. But for me, I did come in a little late in the season. So I feel like I'm a little behind on catching up with points, so I got to do everything in my power to make up, the lost points that we've had throughout the season. So you can expect a lot of how can I say, entertainment from the special teams this weekend.
It definitely is that. And lastly, how do you prepare mentally for the fact that you as a kicker, and you're, as we said, there's a lot more chance for you guys to score in arena football than regular football, but generally, games are decided by offense and defense, except in the playoffs. It seems the kickers very often will decide a game. You play your tail off for however many minutes, and then it comes down to a last-second kick. You guys have had a couple of games this year where a kick has decided it. Mentally, how do you stay cool when you know that everything that transpired before that could ride on that one kick that you're going to take in the final seconds of a game?
Yeah, it's obviously I'm not going to sit here and say it's not stressful. I always do get that butterfly effect in my stomach, and it's because it means something to me. I love kicking. I do take a lot of pride in it. So mentally, you just got to rely on your preparation. I've had a coach that told me that stress is a byfactor of somebody that's not prepared. And if I know I did everything in my power that week to prepare as well as I can, then there's no reason for me to stress on the final kick. Now, I might get a little nervous, but then you fall back on all the years that we've played. 6 years of experience. I've been put in situations like that. I've been in situations where it comes down to a kick, or it's a kick to take us into overtime, or a tie a game up. So I remember my first time. It was actually, we date back a little bit to 2018. My first ever pressure kick that I've had was against Massachusetts. It was the third week of the season, and we were down 10 points, and there was only like 6 seconds remaining, and we scored a touchdown. I had a drop kick, and then I tied it up with a deuce to go into overtime. And I remember on that deuce kick, the crowd, that was in the DCU Center, and the crowd went absolutely crazy. And I remember almost like it was like noise canceling. I completely shut down. I could just hear my heartbeat. Everything was quiet. And for a second, you kind of were taken out of your own body, and it was just like living in this third world almost. And then everything came back, and that kick happened. And after that, making that kick, I think I realized that I have what it takes to do this in the future as well. So every pressure situation, I just remember, it can get worse than that very first one that I've had. It's only going to get easier and better as we move forward. But also in this arena game is you cannot dwell too long on a missed kick, a missed deuce, a missed field goal, because this game is so quick that within a couple of minutes or even seconds, you can score again. And if you dwell too long on the mistakes, it's going to hinder you from success on the next one. So if I miss a kick, I'm human. I'm not a robot. I wish I was, but I'm still human. If I miss a kick, I brush it off. I go to the sideline, take a sip of water, take a deep breath, and we move on to the next one.
It sounds like you've got the right approach, the right attitude. And I'll tell you, those of us here in the New England area, we're used to kickers who win games when it counts with Adam Vinatieri and the Patriots.
Absolutely.
So, Henry, I want to thank you for joining us. Welcome to Lowell. Welcome to the Pirates. And I hope you get your opportunity to decide a game in the postseason, because I think you're up to the task.
Absolutely. That would be a nice highlight tape to have as well.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And maybe it'll open a door to the NFL for you.
There we go.
Thank you so much,
Teddy.
Henry. All right, enjoy the rest of your time. That was Henry Nell, kicker for the Massachusetts Pirates. Joined the team late in the year, and unfortunately for us fans, too late, because, man, that's an entertaining guy, and he's fun to watch. I loved watching him kind of pull out some tricks out of the bag at that last game. Want to thank Henry, want to thank the Pirates, and of course, we want to thank you for joining us here on our latest Inside Lowell podcast. As we like to say, Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.